Welcome to this edition of the Tahoe Real Estate Show. We're joined with seasoned veterans, Chris Mann and John Urtia. John, Chris, thanks for taking time to join us.
Thank you very much. John is back.
25th tax season in the books for Chris and I.
I know. So tax season's over. If you weren't fortunate enough to file an extension or meet the deadline, what's next? Really, you guys go on vacation? Do you head off to a tropical island somewhere? Or, what's next? What should people be have on their radar?
Well, everyone's got 6 more months to file now. So if you're filing an individual tax return, you've got till October 15th now to file. But if you think you owe money, you should probably start to think about it sooner than later, because the extension that you just filed was only to file the return, not to pay. So if you did owe money on April 15th and you didn't pay, the government's starting to charge you interest and penalties now on that amount. So it's a good idea to probably start to think about getting it filed, even though you have till October. If you don't owe money, there's no big hurry other than you got to get it done in the next 6 months.
Yep. And the good thing about that is both the IRS and Franchise Tax Board, they're very good about setting up payment plans for you, and it's something where you just send in your tax return, you let them know that you want to be put on a payment plan, and a lot of times they'll spread the payments over 12 to 24 months. They'll still charge you interest, but it gets rid of all the other stuff. So
I think what was impressive with me, and I had you do our taxes this year, and I know a couple of other people here at the station have used you as well, is it's not like going to H&R Block or not like going to just a CPA. You actually walked us through the process and helped us with setting up the payment plans. So you're more of a full service CPA?
Well, I think what we do is we try to ask a lot of questions, and that produces a lot of answers that even a lot of times produces more questions. And so we try to find out some things that are going on that maybe that people aren't thinking about, because you got to remember, most people are doing this once a year. We're doing this all year long, and so we try to find out what's going on in the person's life, different deductions, because that leads to different questions, and then it also leads to maybe some possible deductions that maybe were overlooked if somebody is not taking the time to be thorough with their tax return.
and that's the biggest thing. If you're when you go to get your tax return done, if you're just dropping off information and then coming back a little later and picking up your return, or the other problem we find with TurboTax is you're entering information, but there's really no give and take. And plus, if you're doing TurboTax once a year, we live this thing every day of our lives, versus somebody just hammering information into the computer for TurboTax. You answer one question wrong, it could take you way down the wrong path. And that's where when you come in, we sit down with you, we go through all your information. Like Chris said, we ask questions. It's kind of like a deposition with an attorney where you're going back and forth. There's a lot of give and take. A lot of times, we give people sheets and say, hey, go back and go through your credit cards, go back through your checkbook and see if there's any deductions in there that you could use in the current year. That's what should be going on. It shouldn't be just, hey, here's your information, let me print out a return, come back in a few days, and we'll have something ready for you.
So if I filed an extension, I'm still working on that October deadline, or I'm preparing for next year, where do people find you guys? What are your hours of operation? How do I get in touch with you?
Well, we're on James Street behind Tahoe Keys Liquor. We're open 9 to 3. South Lake Tahoe. We're open 9 to 3, Monday through Friday, and by appointment, so readily available.
Stay tuned. More of the Tahoe Real Estate Show right after the break. Welcome back to the Tahoe Real Estate Show. We're joined again with John Urtia and Chris Mann. Guys, thanks for taking time to join us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having us.
Hey, in the first segment, we talked that we'd come back and talk about some real estate consequences and how you might be able to guide someone through a decision-making process, whether it's financially feasible or now is a good time. What kind of advice do you guys give from a financial planning standpoint in the real estate world?
Well, basically we can do anything that you want us to do as far as the real estate is. If you're looking to sell something in 2011, whether it's potentially a short sale or maybe it's a foreclosure or just a regular sale, we can sit down and talk about all the ramifications that might be out there for you. Short sales are all, and foreclosures, the ramifications are all different for everyone. And so there's somebody, I would tell anyone, and I think we've talked about this before, is you definitely want to talk to your tax advisor before you do any of that, because some people may have some tax consequences and others won't. We have not seen too many. I haven't seen any that have had any tax consequences negatively yet, and they're out there, but we just haven't run across them. But it's a good idea to sit down and talk to your tax advisor about it before you go ahead and do that.
And one of the things, to go back to what Chris was saying, I mean, what we've seen recently is the IRS is starting to audit these cancellation of debt issues and the forms that you file with those issues. And that's how come it's important to sit down with somebody, go through the calculations, make sure everything's getting adjusted properly. And I think we went down on 2 audits last week, and both came out really good.
Yeah, they were fine. Yeah, they were fine. But it is a complicated issue, though. Very complicated. It's just because that's the mechanics of it make it complicated. And I think it's something that, you know, if you're not going to have somebody that has done these before look at it, I think you could be losing out potentially on some things that might be in your favor, you know. And so I think it's real important. I always suggest do it before you even think about doing any of these things, like a short sale, or if it ends up being a foreclosure, or if it's just a straight sale, to sit down with somebody and make sure that you understand what the tax ramifications are, if there are any, and do it beforehand. And then once you know what those are, then you can go forward with your plans based on that knowledge. One other thing I brought up too, they'll bring up what you mentioned earlier, we belong to a couple different services where we get emails every day letting us know what's going on with Congress and the government and potential tax laws, and then when they're signed, we get those right away. I mean, there's stuff that we get right off the bat, and we also get knowledge of things that maybe are coming up down the road or potentially going to come up as far as law changes and things like that. Those come to us in an email format every day. Okay. So it's fun reading every morning.
I'll bet.
And then another thing is, you know, some people are starting to talk, and, you know, we're getting a little activity of people wanting to get back into the market and wanting to start investing again and buying rental properties. And I think it's important that you sit down with somebody on the front end and have them look at your situation, because a lot of times people think that just because they have a loss from a rental that they'll be able to take it and use it against their W-2 income. And in a lot of instances, if your income's over, you know, $75,000 if you're single, or $100 if you're married, you start losing those deductions. And so it's important to sit down with somebody and make sure that you are going to get some sort of tax relief from those, because a lot of times you may not.
All right, stay tuned. More of the Tahoe Real Estate Show coming up right after the break. Welcome back to the Tahoe Real Estate Show. Again, joined with Chris Mann and John Utia. Thanks for taking the time.
No problem.
Thank you.
We've covered a variety of topics. I've got a question, I guess for both of you. So you see a lot of tax returns. You probably get asked a lot of questions. What's deductible? What's not deductible? John, what's the most common deduction that most people miss?
I think what we see the most is people with the non-cash contributions. You know, when you take something down to Barton, you take a bag of clothes or some household goods. People typically take their stuff there, but then they don't get a ticket for it. And to me, that's the biggest opportunity they're missing, because typically you can take anywhere from 10 to 15% of the original purchase price, as long as everything is in good and working condition. The IRS would like you to take a picture of the stuff you donate to show that it's in good condition, and as long as you take the picture, get the receipt, and obviously take the stuff down there, I mean, it's a good deduction, especially if you itemize. You know, it's free money, so might as well.
Well, a lot of people forget to even take it down there.
Yeah.
You know, they leave it in the garage still or in the attic. So it's something that every year you should.
Yeah, you want to make your
and
spouse happy. Get
right.
that load down to the partner auxiliary.
So Chris, we talk about, you know, the services and the advice that you give to small business owners, but you know, for people viewing that maybe have a small business here in Lake Tahoe or the Carson Valley, what's one of the number one reasons why they should come see you guys?
Well, I think a lot of people that are running their businesses, they may not have had anybody helping them get their accounting in order, and so you see a lot of times where the accounting is done by hand, or it's done at the end of the year with adding up receipts. Everybody goes through the chore of doing that every year. What we do is we try to go in and train people on how to use computer software to run their accounting. And at first, everyone's a little bit standoffish about it because it's like a new thing, you know. But we've found is once people understand it more, they end up really liking it, you know. And we provide the training for them so that they're not just going in cold buying the software and then having nobody to help them with it. So we go in and show them how to use it. And it's a good way to run your business because then you can see where you're at all year long, not just at the end of the year.
Oh, hold on. So if I go out and buy QuickBooks, you'll actually train me on how to use it and how to set it up so that next time the tax return comes around, it's going to be that much easier.
It's easy, yeah. That's what everybody says. It's so easy after they do.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, other than going out and generating revenue, I think having your books in order is probably the most important thing. But beyond that, it's once you have this information, then that's when I think we become very valuable to the business client, because to us, the most important time of the year is from May to December, and planning with the client, sitting down with them 2 or 3 times during the year, making sure they're sending the right amount of quarterlies in, making sure they're making the right purchases, making sure they're making good business decisions. And if you do a great job, if you and the client can be great from May to December, when it comes time to do the taxes, there's no surprises because all the issues have been resolved before the end of the year.
Where are you guys located? How to get a hold of you? And, do you guys close the door after April 15th, or what's the deal?
No, like I said, our most important time to us starts in May, and from May to the end of the year. So we're around, from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. We also do appointments only if somebody has to come in on the weekends or something. I mean, we're always around in this 24/7 technology age. I mean, we're always available, always around to help.
All right.
Yeah, we want to be a full service, a full resource.
Yeah, they should think of us. I mean, especially in these times, you should be spending more time with your accountant and your CPA than ever before. And good things usually happen when you spend time with people who work a lot with businesses, and that's who we are.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to come and join us. I've learned a lot. Hopefully some of our viewers have as well.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thanks.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Tahoe Real Estate Show. See you next week.